Hi, Marique. Welcome to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast.
Thanks, Julia. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're excited to have you. And you're joining us all the way from New Zealand, where it's still the morning time. So I appreciate you getting up early to be a guest and share with our listeners everything that you've kind of learned through your journey. And I'm sure it will be an informative and inspirational conversation. So thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you.
What I would love to do to start is, could you share with our listeners what you're currently doing with your IHP certification, with your current practice? And then we'll talk a little bit about kind of what got you there, what you were doing before, and then talk about how that ultimately led you to some of your niche clientele.
Sure. So I love working one-on-one with women, usually over 3 to 4 months. I find that's a really good time to see that change and that transformation that happens. And it's all online. I'm also working on doing group stuff because I'm at the point now where I want to reach more women, and this work just really lights me up. It's so rewarding. So I'm in the process of creating a bit more of a group structure so we can work together and support one another. And I also love speaking and running workshops and doing events. So that's another area that, really fascinates me. And often diving deep with clients doing the functional medicine lab testing. So when the symptoms only take us so far, we can dive deep with labs, which, really excites me too. And also here in New Zealand, it's quite new for people. So it's really exciting new terrain. And I feel like it's the future. So it's all exciting stuff and just great to be able to be there to support women. So many unanswered questions that they have, that they've seen their doctors about, that they've just not been able to work through, and they've had for years too. I think it's such an important thing. I think health coaches are so needed. And I feel just so lucky to be here, to be doing this job. It's it's really rewarding.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Related to that topic, let's kind of talk about how you got here, because it's not something you've always done. You kind of stumbled upon it in a little bit of a type A personality maternity leave. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing before and how you ultimately got to the point where you're at now.
Well, it's funny because I used to think I was really healthy. I used to drink my green juices every day. I was doing high intensity training 5 to 6 times a week. I was even meditating, avoiding carbs, thought I was doing everything right. And I couldn't understand why I wasn't well. I was teary all the time. I was so anxious. I couldn't sleep at night. I just felt so wired. And it really wasn't until I attended a beautiful women's weekend event by the amazing Dr. Libby Weaver that I had this huge aha moment where I realized I was so stressed. And honestly, it seems crazy now. It seems so obvious, but I just didn't see it at the time. So that was really life-changing and began kind of my journey of healing. And then being the type A I am and always being into health, while I was on maternity leave, I thought, this is a great time to study something in health. And so I dived into IIN and studied that, which was great. And when it came time to go back to work after maternity leave, I just didn't sit right. It didn't feel aligned for me anymore. I was working, in advertising, and it just didn't feel truthful for me. So I just took this intuitive leap to follow this health thing, and dive into health coaching. And so started to do health coaching. And in about 2017, I stumbled across Dr. Cabral's podcast. And oh my goodness, more ahas there. It was incredible. He was taking concepts that I think I intuitively knew and understood, but he was explaining them and putting them into words. And it just made so much sense about stress and hormones and, eating for your doshas and your body type, and just, it was incredible. I was hooked right away. So sure enough, when he released his course, I signed up in one of the early rounds. And, by this time I thought I was pretty healthy, but wow, did the health of myself and my family just dramatically improve by doing IAN. It's incredible. I mean, I feel now the healthiest I've ever been. So it's been incredible. And even though, I would say that healing journey was a pretty dark period in my life. It was pretty challenging, yet I wouldn't change it for the world, because it's turned out to be the greatest gift, where now I get to help other women to not go down that same path I did. And like I said, it's really rewarding and really fulfilling. I get to inspire, educate, empower women to kind of like nourish and heal themselves and live in harmony with their body and with Mother Nature, and just, be the best they can be. And yeah, I love it. It's awesome. So it's been a real gift, actually, this whole healing journey. And I feel like I've grown so much in that time. So yeah, here I am now, just doing this work in the world. And yeah, I feel pretty lucky to be here and do this.
Yes. Yeah. I recently was interviewing another woman who, she had a very similar, outlook on things. And I think a lot of practitioners who go and then kind of do this work have the same outlook, in the sense that we're kind of grateful for all of those, stumbling blocks, roadblocks to our health, because it kind of turned us into the practitioners that we are, whether it be like you can relate better to your clients, you have a certain kind of passion for what you do, and what a woman is capable of. You can kind of say, like, I've been there. I know what it feels like to be in that dark place. And I promise you, like, this is on the other side. We can have such relatability. I don't think it's a coincidence that so many of us have such a similar story, really, in the sense that we were unwell, right? It starts with Dr. Cabral. He's kind of, talks about how he was so unwell, and he said, if I ever find the answers, I'm going to share it with the world. And I think that that's kind of like what we all get from IHP, is kind of that same inspiration, so to speak.
Yeah. And I seem to attract the old me, women on the road to burnout, that are, excuse me, women on the road to burnout, working in these careers, and usually have young kids, and they're just pushing themselves really, the juggle's really hard as a working mother. Mm-hmm. And the weight's creeping on. They are anxious all the time. They've, can't work out what's going on with their hormones, or they're feeling bloated, or they have digestive issues. And yeah, they just keep going, and there's no support. And I think because having been in that career and knowing exactly how much it pushes you, you can be there, like you said, you've been there, so it's, the other side, and you can be there to guide and support them 100% and show them what's on the other side. And it's, possible to find that flow and not put so much stress on your body, because as we know, stress really does affect every cell of our being and is the thing that tips us over. And sometimes it's the most overlooked, which, no one wants to talk about stress. Everyone's like, oh, stress, it's so boring. Everyone's stressed, right? But wow, it's like one of the most important things we really need to tune into and make sure we're keeping in check. And I know personally, it's still something I'm working on. Like being a type A, you just have to make sure you're not pushing yourself too hard. And, an incredible thing that Dr. Cabral has taught is having those daily anchors, making sure, we've got daily anchors through the day, morning, middle of the day, evening, that we're never on for too long, and we're making sure we're calming our nervous system, whatever that may be. For me, being in nature is a real big one, grounding with the earth. That was beautiful. It's just a beautiful way I healed on my journey, was just connecting with the earth. I love the beach. So we've actually recently just moved out the city to near the beach on a big piece of land. So I feel like I'm just always being surrounded by nature. It's just like recalibrated my whole system. And I feel like I'm just naturally calmer. So but whatever works for someone. So I think grounding with the earth, using your breath, always just making sure we're breathing right. The power of the breath to calm the nervous system is incredible. But it could be yoga, laughing with your children, listening or dancing to music, all the things that just help tell our system that it's safe and it's okay to be, and we're right in this moment. I think that's a really powerful thing that everyone needs to, introduce into their days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially, you said you kind of like attracted your old self as far as the clientele is concerned. And it seems like your passion's definitely working with women. I would argue, and I, say all the time, that it's not that it's just women, that deal with these things, but the female hormone and nervous system was designed much differently than men. Like, men's biological role was to deal with the lion, to go out and hunt and gather. Their system is built, they're wired very differently for stressors than a female system. And so we have to kind of take that into account when we're talking about, okay, fine. So it's great that now women can kind of have these equal playing fields as far as the workplace is concerned, and you may have been, working in advertising or marketing or, doing something alongside a male and making the same compensation, right? Like it's what we worked so hard for, but it doesn't mean that it actually serves our health in the same way or serves us well really at all. I'm curious, is that something that kind of looking back now was that something that you dealt with in the career that you were doing before your maternity leave?
Oh, 100%. I was totally in my masculine. I was just push, hustle, and it did not serve me. And, I've had to kind of relearn just to embrace my feminine. And it's been all part of this beautiful healing journey. But yeah, it's dancing between the two, right? So especially like as a woman using your cycle even and those times where you can push yourself a little bit harder. And then other times going inward when you need to, and just finding that balance. I think everything's about balance, where we do this lovely dance with life where, we're not always on. Another incredible concept that really, really resonated with me, probably one of the most powerful things I've learned as an integrative health practitioner, is if you're pushing yourself too hard or you're feeling like you're a bit burnt out, we need to be taking in more energy than we're expending. Dr. Cabell teaches you've got these 12 hours on and 12 hours off roughly. But in those times when you're a bit stressed, we need to be taking in more than we're expending. So, again, whatever that may be that really calms and refuels your nervous system, I think that's incredibly powerful. And that's where I think I missed the point. No amount of supplements or protocols are really going to replace the body's need for rest and rejuvenation. And yeah, I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was taking the supplements, doing the health stuff. But, when you're so stressed, that's the crux, right? So again, just taking in that energy, finding that balance. It all ties in that it's such an important thing for us to do and realize, and especially for women in those, like you said, those roles where we are in a very masculine environment. We need to find our flow. We need to find that balance. So key. Yeah, key to feeling good and key to healing, really.
Yes. Yeah. And if you add kind of like the working mom to the picture, right, then you're working and then you're going home and you have the demand of, kids, and just naturally, even if you have a really supportive husband or partner that's doing sharing in some of the household, I think women just naturally, right? Kids want their moms in a different way. And so we tend to be kind of in demand in a different way at home too. And so it's kind of like, there's like never this off button. You kind of just go from one demand to the next. And it can really be quite depleting. And it's not until like you get into that state of depletion that you can see it, right? Because sometimes like it's that you're like running on that adrenaline and you're going. And it's not until like you crash that a woman can kind of go, oh my gosh, like this is not good. I am not well. And that's, I'm sure where your forte is as far as coming in.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like the biggest transformations I have is when my clients have their own personal aha moments. It's like when they realize something for themselves, and I'm not doing the work. We're meeting together. I'm there to support them. And I have so many women that are like, wow, thank you so much. You've changed my life. You've done this. And I remind them, I'm like, I've just been your guide. You've done all the work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's those beautiful moments when they've tapped into their, innate wisdom and that intuition to what they need for themselves. And I feel like that's where the biggest change happens, because they've come to that realization, and everybody knows. We intuitively know what health is. What am I trying to say? We intuitively know what health is, but I think we've lost the roadmap to get there. We've lost that connection and tuning into our own body and listening to what it's telling us. So this is something I find I love to work with my clients, is just if I can only do one thing, it's helping them tune into themselves, to connect with their body again, to listen to what their body might be telling them, what their symptoms might be saying. And if you do that, you're setting someone up for life. We all know when something's out of balance. So asking ourselves, what we might need to let go of, what we might need to change. And it's different for everyone. We're also bio-individual. So it's tuning into what feels right for you, and then having someone guide you and really get you there on your healing journey. I guess I like to go deep with my clients, but I'll always meet them where they're at. So I find it's easier that we work on the physical things, like get them sleeping, get them eating well, get them breathing. And then when they're starting to feel better and then taking the supplements that support them, then we can start going a little bit deeper if they're ready to, into that mind-body connection and tuning in really, because I think the way we think and the way we feel creates our state of being. Our inner world is a reflection of our outer world, and that can't be ignored. So, there's that whole mind-body connection is, I just think, so important. And helping women realize that, helping people realize that.
It empowers them. It gives them a certain amount of empowerment to kind of take control over what's happening, right? Because I think so many people can kind of think like, okay, I'm just like going through the motions. But when you give a client, when you kind of hold space for a client to take that power back and get curious and look and see like, what do I need? Now they're like in charge of kind of the direction, right? It's a whole, and it's a beautiful thing to watch when someone kind of takes it back.
Yes, it's incredible because everything's energy, right? So, if there are like even anxiety, it's like bringing that curiosity to it. What might be the message in this? Can we sit with this? Can we see what our body's trying to tell us? Because often, pain and illness can be that those trapped energies or emotions in our body that we've not let go of, or we're not sitting with, or we're not allowing to surface. So I think that's incredibly powerful, exploring that energy side of things. Not everyone's ready to go there, but it's undeniable that everything's energy, and we need to explore that. I'm really fascinated by the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love his meditations, and you listen to the testimonials and the healing stories that he has, and it's just so inspiring. And it just tells you, you can heal with your heart alone, and that it's in your mind. It's incredibly powerful. And so we can't dismiss that and just work on the physical. I think they have to exist together. And that's what makes this journey so beautiful. Like I said, and with Dr. Cabral and most people in this field, we've had this journey of growth and healing, and it's been such a gift. As challenging as it can be, it's exploring all these areas and growing and learning, and which makes life what it is, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think I always say like, you can't out supplement a negative mindset. And it's so true. I actually was just listening to a podcast recently about a gentleman who was serving time in jail. He had a life sentence. He spent, I think, 14 years in solitary confinement. He ended up getting out, but while he was in solitary confinement, he vowed that he was going to figure out, like, how did I get here? Like, what was the thing that got me here? And he talks a lot about how basically he, from a young age, he had, his mom telling him, if you don't, straighten out, you're going to end up in jail. He had other, male figures commit crimes and end up in jail. And he said, I really actually thought that this was my destiny. I thought myself into where I'm at now. And he said to himself, if I could think myself into this, I can think myself out of it. And he completely changed his mindset. He started to write, and he saw himself as a writer. And he ended up getting out and has, one of his, things that he was manifesting was that Oprah would read his book one day. And like that ended up happening. But he basically, understood the power of that subconscious mind and how powerful it was in his transformation, in his position that he was in, the negative position. And he thought, if I got here this way, I can get out the same way. And I think we oftentimes, we just think about like the manifesting in the good ways, right? But we can also think ourselves into places of illness. And if we just acknowledge how powerful our minds and our energy are, and we use it in the right direction, it's incredible.
Yeah, totally. Dr. Joe Dispenza says, if your thoughts can make you sick, then surely your thoughts can make you well. And yeah, I think it's so true. It's using, you can start as simply as just using affirmations. So I kind of like to call them statements of truth, and having them and saying them. And you you start to believe them, and it changes your life. It changes your energy. And the most beautiful thing is when you start experiencing, like you said, those synchronicities in your life, and things start flowing and coming to you, and it just encourages you to do more and catch yourself. We've all got these programs like that guy in the podcast. We've all got our programming from childhood. So it's just creating an awareness around that. Like, where are we falling into these patterns and stories, and catching yourself and changing those thoughts, changing that energy. And it's not always easy, but even just having the awareness around it creates a shift. So I think it's possible for anyone. And it's exciting and inspiring to think, wherever you are, you can be wherever you want to be. You just, and it all starts with just one single thought.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you call, daily affirmations, like we hear that term all the time, but to like the subconscious mind, like, what does that mean? Right. Like, but a statement of truth, that's a very clear message that like, this is a statement and it has truth to it. And I am saying something that is true, right? Like the body will even just receive that differently than like affirmation. What is an affirmation, right? Like somebody that's not super conscious and is just kind of going through motions with you as a guide. That's such a beautiful way to put it. So
yes,
really great. So you kind of mentioned quickly a few things, but I kind of want to circle back to it because I think they're all so important. And one thing that they all have in common is that they're literally free. I think we can overcomplicate, what we need to spend on health, what we need to take, protocols, and what would be some of kind of the, you mentioned things like breath work and nature and all of that. What are some of your favorite things to kind of work on clients with when they're ready to kind of go a little bit deeper, or maybe you don't even have to go deep. You just need to like encourage them to get out in nature more. What are some of the ways that you think bring a lot of centered energy to the nervous system that people are missing?
Well, 100% the breath. I think, the power of the breath is just incredible. It can shift your whole being so instantly. So that is something I always will work with clients, because often we don't even realize it when we're stressed. We're right up here. We're not getting that beautiful full breath down into our belly. And it's just sitting with yourself, connecting. Actually, when I was probably about 11 years old, my dad, he was always into meditation. So he taught me. I used to get so nervous. And I'm so grateful that he taught me this, even though I definitely forgot to use it for a bit of patch there in my life. But he taught me to put one hand on my chest and one hand on my belly, and just breathe deep into that hand on my belly until it rises. And just keep doing that, and taught me to breathe, do the deep belly breathing, the abdominal breathing, and to shift that nervous energy. And it's just been, incredible tool. And it's so simple, because when you place your hands there, you can feel, you can feel that you're not breathing in your chest, and you can push that air out down through your belly, and you can feel that hand rise, and it helps to really shift it and just slow down and tune in. So I find the breath is just so, so powerful. And then for those that want to go deeper, just even diving into doing proper breath work can be really powerful for healing. But that's a whole nother topic. But using the breath, I think it's so, it's so underrated. But it's the most incredible tool we have. Grounding with nature, I think just so easy. Anyone can do it. I say to my clients, kick off your shoes and go just walk on the grass at lunchtime. If that's all you can do today, just do that. Just get in nature any way you can. It will create a shift for you. So I think that's really, really powerful, and that made a real shift in my journey. And then as simply as just seeing where you're expending yourself. So making sure that you're not on the whole time. Making sure you're taking in that energy and creating that nice balance of energy in, energy out. And probably there was one other thing. The anchors, daily anchors. I think they're so powerful, because let's face it, when we're working, we're on schedules, right? So why not make this part of your schedule if you have to, set your alarms or set little patches in your day where it's like, right, this is, even if it's 5 minutes, I'm going to go and do some breathing, Or maybe I love listening to binaural beats. So I encourage my clients at lunchtime, if they have a chance to just listen to binaural beats, really just helps recalibrate the system. Ideally starting a morning routine, I think that sets anyone up for the day. But it's finding what works for each individual and not overwhelming them. I think we don't want to be overhauling everything. It's those small, consistent steps in the right direction that bring about the change. So, not taking all those things and thinking, gosh, I've got to do all of them. But what resonates, let's pick one and let's focus on that and make that a habit. And then maybe we can dive into something else. And then they'll just become things you just do naturally. They're part of your life and you don't even think about them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's when you have all of these tools, you're able to kind of get a sense for what the client needs. And, you can apply one, the client might not know that you have 15 others, right? And that oh gosh, that seems overwhelming. But that if, this one doesn't resonate, we can always try something else. And like you said, meeting the client where they're at, or, I always say, if you can, do deep breathing outside, sitting on the ground, like now we've killed two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really love being outside, and that actually does, feel so, so good to them. For some people, they're kind of just like, oh, can I, do a morning routine, right? Is like a better thing to start with. And that's really the beauty of working one-on-one with clients, is you're able to kind of give them bite-sized information that just kind of keeps them engaged and seeing progress as you go, right? In my opinion, that's what some of the most benefit is.
Oh, I look forward to talking to my clients. It lights me up. When you just see someone come to you and they're beaming because, they've managed to start this new habit and they're starting to feel really good, and they, suddenly start having more energy. Like we all want more energy, but, we think, gosh, is this just me? But then they're like, I've got more energy, I'm feeling better. And it's so inspiring and exciting. And then they want to do more and they want to try something else and add something in. So it's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. And do you find that the women that come to you, so the women that you're working with, do they come to you and say, I'm burnt out, like I'm at the end of my rope and I'm burnt out? Or do they kind of just come to you with some health challenges and you're able to say, I think you're, at the, you're burnt out? Do a lot of women come to you with the conscious idea and thought that they are as burnt out as they are?
No, definitely not. Exactly like me. I just was so unaware, right? Because most of these women are that type A, and they're really good at what they do, and they're really good at the juggle. They're not aware that they're on the road to burnout or pretty burnt out already. They're just like, gosh, why is this not working? And why can't I figure it out? I managed to figure everything else out. I managed to juggle everything else. What's happening here, and why is this not going away? And I need to, again, that masculine approach, need to fix this. Let's just do it. And so it's never the awareness of being burnt out. Awareness, maybe something needs to change, or, why are my hormones out of whack, or why am I getting these digestive issues, or, all the symptoms that don't start going away and they start, niggling, if we ignore the body, the whispers of the body starts to shout. So, yeah.
And do you find that you are met with some resistance sometimes? Women that I work with who kind of have that type A, go, do more to get more type of personalities, sometimes it's really hard to convince them that no, less would actually give you more in this instance. If you slow down, you would likely see better results from a weight loss standpoint. You would see your hormones shift. You would actually feel calmer if you let some of that control go. Do you ever find that you're met with a certain amount of resistance?
Oh, definitely, because that was me. I got told that, and I remember my lovely naturopath just telling me, you need to slow down. And I just, it's like, no, I don't have time to slow down. But it takes, it's a journey, right? It's a journey. And it's, again, I think going back to that programming we have, where we're taught we have to work harder, we have to work harder and longer to make things happen. And, when we shift back to the energy thing, no, it doesn't have to be like that, and things can flow and come to you when you're aligned. And that's where the magic happens. And a lot of it's trusting and letting go, which is really hard. But I think it's those small wins, like the small wins we get where we start to feel better when we're doing the little things that suddenly go, okay, cool. Let's go deeper. It's,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the truth is when we, I think the moment where we're able to kind of see that, okay, there is something that kind of needs to be let go, like that is an energetic shift. And then that allows for kind of more space and, like it's just a snowball effect from there. So your clients are so lucky to have you in that sense, because especially for a woman, I know lots of practitioners who are just kind of always flowing in their feminine, and it's just kind of like their natural state, but you're able to relate and say, because I'm sure maybe you even still, even though you're doing something that you love and that lights you up, like you might have the tendency to overbook or to, we're always on the journey of dealing with the stuff that we have to deal with. Like we never like fully get there. Right. And so you're able to share, I know what it feels like. I know what the appeal of going nonstop is, but here's the benefit of not doing that.
Yeah, we all love running on adrenaline. Like it's a great feeling, right? It's suddenly like, oh, I could do everything. Yeah, so it's definitely something I'm still working on. But yeah, again, it's that journey, right? And it's nice to be able to connect and relate on that, because it's when you are someone who likes to achieve, you don't want to take that away. So it's finding that groove, finding your balance, and again, remembering like where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So let's be conscious of where we're placing that energy and give some of it to us, right?
Yes, yeah, of course. So I'm curious, if you mentioned Joe Dispenza, but kind of in this burnout energy space, do you have any other, or maybe it's just Joe Dispenza and you wanted to like share a book or any podcasts, books, kind of other people that were really inspirational on the whole topic of burnout? Or even the energy mindset, because obviously Joe is more of the energy mindset and kind of all of that, our thoughts, essentially, how that creates our reality.
Yeah, there's a few people that I really admire. I love the work of Peter Crone. I think he touches on that quite a lot. Marissa Peer is another one. She does a hypnotherapy technique, which I've tried recently. I love trying loads of different modalities for myself, but also because everything resonates differently for different people. So, then I can recommend them to clients. That was incredible for going deep into the subconscious and doing some reprogramming through her technique. So, yeah, Marissa Peer is incredible. I also I love the work of Kelly Brogan. I think she's really powerful for women in this space. Deepak Chopra, Dr. Libby Weaver is another one. I feel like she's the feminine version of Dr. Cabral, like just, again, this beautiful soul that just takes these complex topics and makes them so easy to digest and understand. And just, I wish she was there for me when, in my 20s, but before all this kind of came to life. She's just incredible with her books and her message and what she puts out there to the world. So yeah, those are a few. I could go on, but Power of the Subconscious Mind is an incredible book. I'd highly recommend. Also, another thing on the energy space is Network Spinal. I don't know if you're aware of that. Created by Donnie Epstein.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can go down the rabbit hole. There's lots of incredible people in that space.
I know. Yes. And those are all great suggestions. Thank you so much. If everybody that's listening kind of wants to find out more, where do you tend to show up? Social media, website, all of your kind of wisdom, where does that live on the internet?
I like to hang on Instagram. I think I'm quite a visual person, so I love the beautiful pictures. So yeah, you can find me at mariqueknight.com. At Marique Knight, or my website is mariqueknight.com. Those are probably the two key places to find me. And LinkedIn for all my lovely professional working mamas.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Integrative Health Coach Success podcast. I think this was such a beneficial and inspiring interview. And I appreciate you being here, especially early in the morning in New Zealand. Thank you again so much.
Oh, thank you, Julia. This has been lovely.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Thanks, Marique.
Bye.